Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new round of freshly squeezed oranges, otherwise known as a Warframe video. A lot of people out there are going to be just getting into Warframe, and they're going to very quickly realize, damn, this game be hard. And well, that's because it is. And Warframe is a game of very little transparency when it comes to getting into it, and the sort of aims and goals you want to be heading for when you first pick the game up. Especially when it comes to trying to help yourself enjoy yourself whilst playing the game. Because let's face it, anyone who's picked the game up from the word go, they're going to be bombarded with so many things being thrown at your face, like modding, damage, and all those other kinds of nonsense that you don't really know what to focus on. And hey, maybe even for the players that have been around for a while, this video might become quite useful, as we'll be covering elements within Warframe that are either not known of, or things that will generally help new players when they first pick the game up. So, we've already had one video on this already, and it went so well, I said, hey, you know what would be a really good idea? Let's do another one, because there are infinite amounts of things that you can do within Warframe that will be beneficial for new players, and things that are definitely worthwhile understanding when you first get into the game. There will be also a link down below to the previous video, so if you want to see what else we've already covered in this, as well as things that are going to be relevant for new players, by all means go back, and I heavily encourage you to check that video out. And now we're going to be giving another top 5 tips that were decided upon by the community on Twitch. So if you want to come by sometime and maybe check out our Twitch channel, there'll be a link down below. You can come by, take part in the videos, and determine how these videos end up being produced, because that's what community is there for. And these suggestions were based on the experiences that these newer players generally have, as what better way to get opinions by people who've actually experienced it. Starting in at number 1, the simulacrum. And apparently I'm a poet and I didn't even know it, because that wasn't even part of the script. The simulacrum is a very unique element to the game, and is an element that should always be taken advantage of by new players, as it allows people to simulate enemies within the game. It is, if you wish, in terms of analogy, it's like the white between space in the Matrix, where they're able to summon weapons and things and training programs and all that other really awesome jargon. The simulacrum is a space where you are able to summon enemies that you have scanned. So a bit of advice here is you need to be using your scanners and scanning enemies. Once you've fully scanned an enemy a certain number of times, those enemies become available in your codex and are able to then be summoned in the simulacrum itself. Keeping in mind that the level the enemy are able to be are then capped based on your mastery. As of right now, at the highest level mastery, the enemies can go upwards of level 165, and this will be increased with by 5 for every mastery level you obtain. And the thing to keep in mind, the simulacrum, the way this works is very simple. You summon an enemy, or as many enemies as you want, up to 20, and these enemies can be allowed to perform normally to their AI, or you can enable the buttons through the summonable control panel near the entrance, and then you can pause them to test out your weapons, or whatever you're planning to test, on enemies that are stood still. Keeping in mind, if they are held still and paused, so to say, they are actually not considered to be detecting you. So melee weapons will still get their undetected bonus. So if you want to do a fair test, you will need to allow them to actually be active and alive to test those melee weapons out. Keeping in mind as well, you can also then make yourself invulnerable, so when you do make them active, you just won't die. This space is an amazing place. Aha, more poetry, and I didn't even know it. Anyway, this safe place allows you to test builds, try out weapons, and really get a feel for things in the game. To actually get to this, however, you need to get reputation with Samaris, and you need to earn yourself 50,000 reputation, and then to be able to buy the key from his control point behind him in his room. You can then fast travel to Samaris when you get to a relay, and then just buy it from the control point behind him. It's not something that's going to take you too long to farm for, and realistically, this can offer a great element of testing in the early stage of the game to try and help you understand weapons better, and really pinpoint where you might be going wrong with your builds. I could highly recommend using this, and getting this earlier rather than later can really make the difference between experiencing a weapon badly, or maybe figuring out what it is you're doing wrong. Either way, check out the simulacrum, make use of it. It's really good, trust me. Another handy tip that might come in handy for all you lovely Warframe players out there is that you can actually test out your mastery tests before you do them. if you go to Simaris's room in, like, La Ronda Relay or some such, wherever Simaris may show up, then if you go through the door that leads to his room, and instead of either going straight ahead to Simaris himself or taking a left to the simulacrum, if you should instead take a right, you will find a narrow corridor. Up this intrepid journey of a corridor, you'll find these little hovels, and in these little hovels are mastery tests. You are able to test all of your previous mastery tests, including, but not anything further than the one you're currently on. So if you're finding that ye old Master Rank 9 or 19 test proving you wrong, then might I recommend going and checking this out, because you can do this an infinite number of times, and for a lot of people who are new to the game, it is often one of the harder things to do when you're trying to really get used to some of these mastery tests, especially the ones that seem to cause more problems, such as the Master Rank 9. So give it a try, go and check them out, go and test the mastery tests that you always struggle with, and maybe next time you won't have so much of an issue the next time you try it out for real. Number 3, which is primes. What are they? Who are they? How do we get them? So what are prime frames and weapons? Prime frames and prime weapons are basically the flawless or primed variant of their default version. In the lore of things, they are basically the flawless version of any Orokin or Tenno variant of a weapon. And by all lore standards, they should only technically be of Orokin or Tenno origin. However, DE seem to really like retconning the lore every now and again to bring in Grineer and Corpus weaponry into that, but that's a different story. With the prime weapons and frames, they are essentially going to have a higher amount of initial base stats in certain elements, and they will come with more polarities, allowing you to mod them slightly more efficiently than others. There is nothing really that different about the prime variant. However, it is worth noting that the prime variant is worth mastery. So leveling the regular version will earn you 6,000 mastery. Leveling the prime variant will earn you another 6,000 mastery. They don't share leveling. And if you really are looking to min-max, getting the prime variant is often the way to get that little bit more potency out of a frame, as they will do exactly the same thing as the regular variant, just that smidgen little bit better. There are no examples in the game of where the prime variant does anything remotely different to the normal version, unless you're referring to the Piranha Prime, because that does actually have a passive to it that is weirdly enough the only thing in the game that's actually better than the regular version. And then you have the Euphona Prime, which doesn't even have a regular variant. But, you know, there's one or two little things here or there that are slightly different, but 99% of prime variants are just a flat minor improvement over the base variant. Now, where do you get these prime items from, you may ask? Prime items are obtained from those lovely little turd-looking balls that you obtain from completing missions known as relics. These relics will have a list of items within them. These items will be rated from either bronze to silver to gold, and that correlates to how rare they are. You can see the chance of getting them through the little bars that appear with them. And the idea being is you will then take these relics and you'll sign up to a fissure mission. Fissure missions appear on your star chart as these little squiggly S things. These squiggly S's correlate to what the fissure missions are. When you complete a node on a map, that node has the chance to be converted into a fissure mission. These fissure missions will correlate to different types of relics. You have the Leaf, the Mesa, the Neo, and the Axii relics. Each ones will then lead themselves to different difficulty levels, the Leaf being the easiest ones to obtain, the Mesa being from slightly higher level, Neo from even higher level, and Axii are from the highest level missions in the game, generally speaking. We're not going to go into the semantics about how to get them efficiently, just for the fact that might take an entire video in of itself. Farming relics is a great way to also earn some platinum, as prime components can be sold. Now, prime frames and weapons require components much like the regular items. To get these components, you'll open up your relics through the fissure missions as per the normal. Keeping in mind that all of the items for a prime weapon or frame won't come from the same relic, so you'll need to grind multiple different relics in order to get all the components you're going to need. But much like the regular items, you'll just need to craft them through your foundry and then put them all together later down the line. The thing to keep in mind with this, however, is that it is a rather hefty grind. You will be better off working with other people, as you can share relics together to try and farm for the components you're after. Honestly, the best way of farming for an item is to get 3 of your friends together, figure out which prime you're after, and then all use the relics. This is known as relic sharing, where you will pick up all of the same relic together, and you'll complete the fissure mission, and upon the relic opening, you'll get the chance of having one item from your relic to drop. And once the mission finishes, each person who has a item drop from their relic will have the option of choosing one of those items that dropped. So if you have 4 people in your group and 4 items drop, if the item from your relic isn't the one you're after, but one of the other people in your group does have an item you're after, you can choose that relic instead of your own. Keep in mind, you will then sacrifice the relic you would have picked up. Moving on to the fourth and probably more subjective thing here that I was tempted not to put in, rotations for missions. This fourth segment, I was kind of tempted not to put in as it's a little bit transparent as is, but I thought why not? Because you know what? People don't often get the chance of realizing this when they first pick the game up. But every mission in the game has a reward of some kind. There are certain types of missions that you can get rewards from over and over again, and these are known as rotational missions. These missions are the ones that have an indefinite end, such as survival, defense, interception. Basically, if there's no set objective that forces you to leave, and you can keep going for wave after wave, or hour after hour, those are the indefinite missions that have rotating rewards for them. So any mission that has an indefinite end, such as the missions we already mentioned, will have rotating rewards. Every time you get a reward, that is one rotation. And through any of these missions, other than a couple of exceptions that I'll explain in a moment, you will get that reward upon a rotation. The way the rotations work in any of these missions are the first rotation, for example in a defense after 5 waves, is rotation A. Then at 10 waves, you'll have a second rotation A. Then you'll have a rotation B at the 15-minute, or the 15 waves, or the third objective you complete. And then after 20 minutes, or 20 waves, or the fourth objective you complete, you get rotation C. Each of these rotations will have unique rewards relevant to that rotation itself. So the first 2 rotations you do will have the exact same rewards because they're the same rotation. Once you've completed rotation C, it then reverts back to rotation A, and you'll cycle through until you decide to leave. Keeping in mind, however, the difficulty of that mission will still keep scaling if you decide to stay in. However, the loot will always stay the same, depending on the rotation you finish. If you want to make the most out of any rotational mission, these can be done as sort of like an endurance run. But ideally, if you ever want to get the most out of a mission, you always want to get through at least one full rotation to have the chance to have all of the loot from that mission type. Let's just say, for example, we want a certain relic that only comes from rotation C, and it's in a defense mission in the void. We would go to that defense mission, we would complete the first 5 waves, we'd get our first rotation A reward, we'd then opt in to stay for another 5 waves, get another rotation A reward, we'd then stay for the 15th wave, which would give us the rotation B reward, and then upon completing 20 waves, we get our rotation C reward. If we didn't get what we wanted, we could then choose to stay and go through that entire process again, or we could leave. In my personal opinion, if you're trying to be optimal, especially in the early stage of the game, you are better off trying to stay in for only one full rotation and then coming back in again. Because if you think about it, if you stay in again, the enemy are going to get harder and it will take you longer to get back to that same point. So in most situations, you're better off staying in for the first full rotation and then leaving. The only time where this is not the case is for arbitrations. However, arbitrations are something you get access to much later in the game. In arbitrations, the rewards work as the following: A, B, B, C, 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 repeating. And it just will keep giving you the C reward after that first segment of Cs. This is a little bit of a more complicated segment, but it's worth knowing if you're trying to get the most out of your rewards, it's worth doing a bit of research into. And the final, probably the most irrelevant bit of news, seeing as this is quite new to the game, is Nightwave! You know how most games have their own battle passes these days? Those really crappy things that try and exploit you for all your money and then try and make you pay for even more, even though it's cosmetic and it doesn't make any difference on the game whatsoever. The thing that makes you want to play for longer and really monopolize your time? Yeah, now Warframe has one as well. Only the great thing about Warframe's battle pass is it's completely free and there's no pay-in, so you don't need to invest any of your real-life money into it. I'm looking at you, Epic. So how does the Nightwave work? Well, the Nightwave is a very unique set of missions, and this is what has taken place of the original alert system. Every Nightwave season is only around for a certain amount of time, and they come with their own unique rewards. So you want to try and get to the max level of the Nightwave for each one as you can. Every Nightwave will have 30 missions to it, or at least that's how they've been so far. If it's different in the future, then we'll probably make a different video on it. But how do you make progress in this, I wonder? Well, much like any battle pass, you have objectives. Every week, you will have a set of objectives that appear below the Nightwave. These objectives will give you weekly, elite weekly, and daily quests that change out based on the rarity and the difficulty of the mission themselves. Upon completing a challenge, you will then receive the points allotted in that challenge, and once you've obtained, as of right now, 10,000 XP in your Nightwave, it will then unlock a level. Every level gives you something different, and they're all worth going for at the very least, and can give you some very good benefits in terms of former for your modding, catalysts for improving your modding, or even rare mods and all that jazz as well. Keep in mind that with every Nightwave season, there's always a very unique story element to it, as at the moment we're having to deal with Arlo and his really weird fungal infection. Usually with this, there's some kind of invasion or enemy that will kind of jump into your mission and tickle your ballsack a little bit and be like, hey, I'm here, kill me. This usually gives some element of catch-up, as there will be extra special events such as the Derelict event that went on with Season 2, or the Emissaries that came in with Season 1, that allow you to earn extra reputation towards Nightwave, as well as also by doing the Nightwave missions themselves. It's a really intuitive system, and I think it's worth getting into if you ever want to really get into Warframe, especially to take advantage of all those amazing, juicy rewards. And that's the video. Obviously, this was not quite as a hands-on video, more of a formal, explanatory video than our previous top 5 guide. However, if you have suggestions for things that are relevant for new players and things you would like to see demonstrated for future videos like this, seeing as the first video did so well, I sort of thought, you know, why not make another? As always, guys, these videos are very much dictated by you, and if you want to see more of these things, let me know. Come by the Twitch channel, give us some feedback on what you think, and hopefully we'll get more out that you want to see. Keep in mind, guys, that as of the near future, there's going to be some big changes coming to the YouTube side of things, as well as Twitch. So through October, it might be a little bit rocky on what we get out, but we are still aiming to upload at least 2 videos a week. So thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to come by the Twitch channel sometime, and I'll see all of you top hatters in the next ta-ra. Oh, and by the way, make sure to like the video and subscribe and all that jazz. I mean, you've all probably tuned out by this point, so I can pretty much do whatever. I could even fiddle with the green screen, you know? Could play around with the microphone. Or play with Clem. Is that Clem? Kill them all? No one's watching by this point in the video anyway, Clem. We'll just have to sit here in our own insanity.